Good morning, friends, wherever you might be, and welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee. And I, of course, am Ben Ochart, and I'll be spending an hour with you today. And wherever you are, I hope you're having a nice cup of joe, preferably out of one of these cups. So, welcome everybody. And it looks like Sean, you were first on the chat today. I think you were very, very early, but if you don't have stickers, definitely send me your mailing address if I haven't already sent some to you for being first on the chat. I am going to be catching up with all my backlog sticker mailouts this week. So if you're waiting for stickers, they will be coming shortly. So, MC Aquatics, welcome to today's live stream. Yes, it is going to be a monster tank, and we're going to talk a lot about that. And hello, Fishman Marcus, Amber Key, and in Washington State, I have some connections there. My son's company is there, and my wife grew up in Renton, outside of Seattle. Love Washington State, beautiful, beautiful state. Peas and Haps Forever, good morning from Canada. Hope things are going well up there, and it's not too cold. It warmed up here. Actually, it was T-shirt weather yesterday. We were in the 70s, and very unusual for this time of year. Last year, we had snow, I think, by this time last year here in Tennessee. But I think 2 days ago, I went out in a T-shirt and had a sweatshirt with me to put on if we were out in the evening, but it was not cold at all. So let's see here. Vibes is here. Hello, Vibes Aquatics. And let's see, hello all. First two things I learned when I got a big tank, who my real friends are on moving it. I'll tell you, that's a good test. Who are your real friends? Have to move a tank or have to move in general. See who comes over and helps you out, you know, even though you offer them pizza, it just, sometimes they're just not available. Let's see here. M&C, yeah, 300. And you'll see why this 300 is going to be deceptively large, because it has a very large front to back footprint, which is why it holds so much water. And anyway, the depth of it is going to be very, very, very beautiful when viewed from the front. And all right, so Diane, hello Diane, and Vibes Aquatics. So Paul Bowen is here. Hello, Paul. Hey, GP, one of my moderators. A big shout out to all the moderators, GP and Denny and John, and sometimes Kevin Green shows up. And these are great moderators. What do moderators do? They just make sure that, you know, we keep the everything child friendly. And this channel does get children, and so we want to keep it child friendly. And George Fernandez is here. Hello, George. And Emon Chevy. I hope you're well as well, my friend. And Renee is here. Hello from very cold. Is that Nebraska? Oh, MB Canada. Wow. Okay. How cold is it up there? Shane Kauger. Good morning from Water Change Day in Motown. Shane, Motown was my that was my music growing up. Fishman Marcus, wish I could get a 300-gallon, but the landlord asked me to stop buying tanks after tank 14. Let me tell you, you have a pretty good landlord. Usually after about tank, tank 1, usually. All right, someone's a Wolverine fan. Angelo's a Wolverine fan. Okay, Vincenzo here. Hey, Vincenzo Fish. And let's see. Hey, Jerry, another one of the moderators are here. Be sure to check out Jerry's Fish Room. And also, it looks like he's got a link there. Is that to Brandon's channel, The Blind Fish Keeper? Check out The Blind Fish Keeper, too. FTM, Dark Druid Aloha from Hawaii, one of my favorite places in the world. And hello to you. Vaughn O'Neill is here from the UK. Wow. Vaughn, my son just landed in London and just sent me some photos, and he said it is very cold in London. So on his way to Dublin, but he has to stop in London for a while for some visa purposes. So welcome everybody, and definitely If I didn't say hi to you, it doesn't mean you're not important. It just means we got to get on with it. And Jerry had a great conversation with Brandon, the blind fish keeper. Thanks for making the connection. You're welcome, Jerry. And I got the opportunity to meet actually both of you at Aquashella. And that's one of the big, I guess one of the biggest plus points. And I think I said this at the end of my Aquashella video. I said that the tanks, the fish, the equipment, right? You know, the filtration, the pumps, the sumps, all that stuff that the companies were familiar with, right? Seachem, Fritz, all of that was great. Seeing all those folks, meeting the reps, and but I'll tell you what really made Aquashella special was the people, was being able to meet face to face, you know, with folks like Jerry and Brandon and other folks out there, Frank and just on and on, Jay Wilson, the KG Tropicals, right? I got to meet John and Lisa and Jason, right? At Primetime Aquatics. These are great people. And anyway, that was probably the funnest part of Aquashella for me. And thank you for that. Thank you for that super chat, Jerry. Very appreciated. You volunteer and you super chat. I appreciate that. So let's go ahead and do the official start here to the live stream. If you're new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell, the notification bell, and the thumbs up if you like the content of the channel. And this tells YouTube something good is going on. And that's how YouTube determines if they're going to share your video and put it in front of other fish keepers. So any help in that area is greatly appreciated. And a big shout out, of course, to the moderators and to all of those who help the channel, and especially to the Cichlid Shack over in Tempe, Arizona. James continues to be doing much better with his health. He's over the COVID. I was very worried for a minute there, and he's doing much better. They are shipping and in business with a lot of great fish. They just got a variety of vieja that is absolutely gorgeous. I'm gonna see if I can get my hands on a couple of them. If you order from the Shack, any order can get 10% off with Shack Attack 10, and fish orders over $100 get 15% off with Shack Attack 15. So don't forget, take advantage of those discounts. And if you want to support the channel, use the Amazon link to get to Amazon. Anything you buy on Amazon, whether it's from my store or anywhere else, helps the channel. And if you want to pick up some coffee cups and T-shirts and all kinds of good stuff, you can at Teespring. Use live stream for a 10% discount, and that also helps the channel quite a bit, as does becoming a Patreon. So you can see the logo up here. That's the Patreon logo. Look for a link to my Patreon page. If you want to become a monthly Patreon member, it's from $3 on up a month, and it really adds up and helps out with the ongoing expenses of running a channel and creating content. As you get larger and try and do more things, you need more equipment, more time, and things of that nature. So anyway, that's the commercial. No more commercials, I promise. So let's get into today's subject. And if you know me, you know that I like to keep lists. And that way I can be sure to cover the topics that I really want to cover. And by the way, how is the sound and audio? Is the audio and video looking good? If someone could just tell me in the chat, because I do not have a way of telling from here. And thank you, Jerry, for sharing that Patreon page. I appreciate that. And let me know if the sound and audio, if the audio and video are good. Let me know, please. So what I did is I created a list so I would make sure that I wouldn't miss anything. And AV is top. Okay, good. Very good. All right. Thank you so much for that. Puts my mind at ease. So There's a video coming out tomorrow that you're going to be able to catch, and this is the thumbnail right here. That's the thumbnail for the video. That's tomorrow morning's video. If you're a Patreon, you already have a link to that video and can watch it already. But tomorrow's video is going to be shopping for the tank, going through the warehouse and looking at what's laying around over at Glass Cages, and you're going to be shocked at the kind of stuff they have there, from turtle tanks all the way up to small tanks, massive tanks like the one I'm standing in front of. That's like 1,000 gallons, I think. Anyway, just an amazing place. But so check that out tomorrow, Sunday. Today's live stream is going to kind of dovetail or segue nicely into tomorrow morning's video at 8 a.m. I mean, at 7 a.m. Central is when it's going to post. These are some of the considerations or thoughts that I have when I'm thinking about setting up a tank. And when you think about like a 55 gallon, I mean, you can put that pretty much anywhere. A 55 gallon is not going to weigh more than a bookcase or a stand with your TV on it, or 55 gallon can go pretty much anywhere in your house. Probably up to about a 125. You probably don't have to worry much. Again, think about a bookcase with hardcover books in it. That against a wall. That's and it's full of books. I mean, you're gonna be comparable. Now, you start getting into things like 300 gallons, and you're gonna have to start considering things like the fact that you've got over 3,000 pounds. When you convert the gallons to pounds and you add in decor, substrate, things of this nature, you're gonna need an area that can support about 3,000 pounds without buckling your floors. This might mean being on a cement slab. It might mean putting in support underneath the floor, right? There are jacks you can buy that you can put under the main beams. You can add additional cross beams and supports to hold that up. But most floors are going to start stressing or bowing or having some kind of an issue. You start getting up into those kinds of enormous weights. And I've seen pictures on the internet of tanks that have dropped 50% into the hardwood floor because it gave way, because a beam gave way and the floor just caved in, and that would be a complete disaster. So location, that's one of the key things. Now, also when you're thinking about location, not just floor weight capacity, but you have to look at things like sunlight. Is it going to be getting sunlight? Because that's going to impact things like algae growth. And so you may want to limit or put it away from where it can get direct sunlight. And in my case, like here in the garage, I have a concrete foundation. So the weight of the tank is not going to be so much a consideration as is having it level, because for drainage and water purposes, the water heater is down here and it is the lowest point in the house. So I guess when they built the house, what they did is they tilted the floor. It's tilted slightly, ever so slightly, towards the opening of the garage. So if there ever was a very large water spill, it would go away from the house, or if there's any kind of flooding or anything. So for me, having the tank level is going to be a primary concern. And what that means is that before we even bring the tank in, I have to have figured out exactly where it's going to go and what am I going to be using, which in this tank here and the 90, I have large pieces of tile. You don't want something like wood that can become soggy, right? If the floor got really wet. So I've got pieces of tile. I also have some some plastic, hard plastic shims that I'm using. But I'm thinking for that 300 gallon, I'm going to need 2 tiles and probably a set of 4 tiles and 2 high on the side that's facing the drainage, the downward slope of the garage. Now, where I'm going to be putting it when it comes to location, another consideration in location is, what am I going to have to do to set this tank up? I'm going to have to do plumbing. I'm going to have to run plumbing behind it. It's going to have 2 inputs. So it's going to be running 2 pumps out of a sump. A 75-gallon sump is going to have 2 pumps coming up and going to each side of the tank. And then I'm going to have, of course, the return, or rather the overflow box, which is going to have three pumps. It's going to be a Herbie style overflow. So it's going to have three pipes coming down and going into the sump. So it's going to require some space in the back for me to work, and for me to be able to get back there and clean and be able to do maintenance, clean out the pipes, occasionally remove the pipes, things of that nature from the back. So I've got to have room back there. Because of that, I've decided to take this 300-gallon tank and actually have it facing me this way. Instead of having it against this wall, which was my original plan, I'd have to have it so far away from the wall to be able to work on it that I would have to, that it would block my easy access to the sink. So I'm going to have it here. I'm going to have it coming off the corner of the 210, and that's going to give me easy access to it. I'm going to be able to run hoses from the sink in the far corner that I had installed, and I'll be able to work behind it easily and comfortably without feeling like I'm jammed to get all the plumbing done. I'm going to hard plumb it, right? I'm going to, like I did with the 210, I'm going to cut PVC pipe and glue it, put a lot of unions in so it's easy to tear apart when I need to. And the wood stand is going to be identical to the one I have on the 200 and the 90. It's going to be the same kind of open door, the kind of removable door stand. And I suspect I'm going to be doing a 75-gallon sump and probably 1 canister. Maybe I'll put into use an old Sunsun 704B that I have. So I like having 2 units, as you know, in the event that one fails. I've got that other unit that keeps running, or while I'm servicing one, the other one's running. So there's always a little bit of redundancy and backup. So I'll either get that Sunsun 704B running, or I'll go out and pick up another FX6. I like what I'm seeing with OAS. Is it OAS? OAS? They have some nice canisters. I might be considering getting even another one, or maybe even for the first time, maybe try out an Eheim. I've heard great things about Eheim canisters. Maybe finally try one out. I don't know. So, location, direct sunlight, floor weight, capacity level, access to electrical. I think I'm going to have to add at least another set of maybe at least 4 plugs. I mean, you can run those strips off, and I added some very high amperage, some high amps to the box, to a second box. And I had an electrician come in, cost about $1,000. We did some work on the room, but I think I'm going to need some more plugs. So I'm going to put some plugs in, make sure that running that tank isn't going to flip any fuses, which was happening before I did that last electrical work. I don't think I could have these tanks running with their heaters and lights and everything going without having a fuse flip on me. So I'm gonna have to add some electrical. I'm gonna have to consider things like substrate, like for a 300-gallon tank with the kind of footprint. I'm gonna show you a picture of the tank, and you're going to see I'm going to need probably 300 pounds. 300 pounds of substrate to get the kind of substrate that I like, a deep substrate that I hope at some point starts to harbor a little bit of anaerobic bacteria. To get that kind of a substrate bed, I'm going to have to put about 300, 400 pounds. I mean, a lot of substrate. I might go with this kind of a combination again, where I put. Some of you have asked, what substrate is this? This black and white substrate. This is 45% white crushed coral, Carib Sea white crushed coral, 45% black aragonite, also Carib Sea or Carib Sea, however you pronounce it, and about 10% of Imaginarium black sand. Just mix it all up, and that's what you got here. Now, if that 300 ends up being the South American tank, I might just go with just regular sand. Just use plain old sand. I have a bunch of play sand. I bought like 5 50-pound bags of play sand, but I started hearing a lot of bad things about phosphates. If you've used play sand in your tank, let me know if you've had any problems with black, brown, or green algae, because I've heard that sometimes it can be a phosphate issue. So those bags of sand are just sitting there, and I'm not sure what substrate I'll end up using, but I've got to come up with some conclusions, right? Substrate. What about decor? Am I going to go with rocks? Only rocks? Am I going to use artificial plants? Again, it depends. Is it going to be a South American tank or an African cichlid tank? What do you think a 300-gallon tank? Do you think the 210 should stay African and use the 300 for South American? Or do you think the 300 should be the African and then make this a South American? My only hesitancy on making this a South American is that I would probably want to remove the substrate, because aragonite and crushed coral are there because I want to maintain a very hard water, high pH, very heavily mineralized water. So room needed to set up, access to water. I've got long hoses to a sink, but certainly if you're going to be setting up a tank, you need access to water, and preferably access to water that you can heat so that you're not doing cold water. I know that John over at KG Tropicals, John and Lisa, he talked about when he had his shop, he used to do cold water fill-ups on the tanks, and in particular in the winter. I imagine that would be it seemed to me like that would shock the fish. I don't know, but I'm not sure if he does that now. But substrate to core, heating setup. Of course, I'm going to be using a controller. I'll probably go to Gemco, or maybe work with do something through the Cichlid Shack and pick up a heavy duty controller. I'm going to need at least 2 heaters, maybe 3. A tank that size, I'm going to need probably 1,500 watts, right? 5 watts per gallon seems to be the rule of thumb in areas that can get cold. So maybe have 1,000 in the sump, and maybe, I don't know, a couple 500, 800 watt in the tank, and then run them through some type of a controller system so that they don't overheat. So again, you got to consider your heating, how you're going to run the heating, especially if you're in an area that gets cold. Southern California, a tank that's kept inside the house, you almost don't even need a heater, really. If you're keeping your home warm in the wintertime. One of the considerations I had in the various tanks that I selected, and you'll see in tomorrow's video, you'll see in Sunday's video, the different tanks that I looked at before I arrived at one that I wanted the most. And one of the considerations was being able to reach the bottom of the tank. You start getting up above 24, 25 inches in the height of the aquarium. And, as it is with this one here, I have to get up on a stool and get in all the way to my shoulder if I need to move something on the bottom of the tank. So you start getting up above 24 inches and stuff, you're going to have a problem, unless you're a very large, person with a very big wingspan, you're going to have a problem being able to reach the bottom. So maintenance was a consideration for me. How far do I want to be reaching into that tank? And so what we arrived at, I believe, was a 25 inch in height, 33 inches front to back, and which is a very deep tank, and 7 feet across, right? 7 feet across. So 84 inches across. And so being able to work on it, that was one of the considerations I had. I didn't want to be getting my head wet when I'm working on the tank. And there were certainly some tanks that had that, that were big, so large that you'd practically have to get into them to work on them and to move, decor around. Filter media. What kind of filter media am I going to be using? I mean, am I going to be going with my same old, standing sponges, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards, right? The large Matten, Swiss tropical type sponges, right? Held up by the stiff sponges from Bulk Reef Supply. Just putting in a large sponge wall in there of Matten sponge, or am I going to throw media in there? Should I throw some Biohome in there? Maybe some pot scrubbers. You guys seem to be really big on pot scrubbers. I mean, I don't know. So, are the sponges going to handle it all? Right? Right now I have a wall of sponges in this sump, and then I have one additional sponge that breaks up bubbles from so that no bubbles get into the final pump chamber. So very simple sump, 2 filter socks that are 14 inches long and 4 inches across, a wall of sponges, and then a sponge at the bottom of the overflow chamber before it gets to the pump. So it's a very, very bare bones, simple DIY sump. Maybe I'll do the same with the 75. Why go with the 75? Because I want that extra water volume. So again, right? Dilution and pollution. That extra water volume really helps to keep the nitrates down and dilute anything that might be in there that's bad. So how am I going to cycle a tank that large? I'm already preparing media. I'm already removing dirty media from filters and actually storing it in the sump so it stays alive and with viable bacteria on it. And then that media will all get stuffed into whatever filter I have for the new 300. So I'll be able pretty much to add fish immediately, right? You condition the tank, condition the water first, then add the media. If you don't condition the water first, you'll kill the beneficial bacteria, right? So you condition it first, add the media, maybe add a little bit of Fritz Zyme if you want to be a little extra careful. But at that point, you're good to add fish. Start bringing over the fish. You need the fish because you need a source of ammonia to feed the media, right? To feed the beneficial bacteria. So you don't bring over the media and then wait a week or wait a month because you'll just starve the beneficial bacteria. So you want it when you use products like Seachem Stability, Fritz Zyme, or when you bring over media from an established tank, you want to put fish in right away. You want to put an ammonia source in there right away, right? So because ammonia is what feeds that beneficial bacteria. So did I miss anything? Filtration choices, pumps and plumbing, substrate and decor, heating, right? The use of controllers. How many watts am I going to need? Will I need 5 watts per gallon? Lighting. How much lighting am I going to need for a 7 foot across tank? 7 feet across. How much lighting? And 24 inches deep. How many lumens, right, do you need to be able to do a good job in lighting so that you don't really have it's not really reaching the bottom? And fish selection, adding them, what schedule am I going to add them on? Oxygenation, food and feeding schedule. These are all things. This is my list. And oxygen. Okay, how am I going to be creating enough water movement? Am I going to be adding a bubbler like I have in the 90-gallon, right? That large disc bubbler? Or am I going to be relying on the water that's being broken up at the top with wave makers? Or with the return from the 2 pumps, right? It's going to have 2 pumps returning to the water to the tank. So I'm going to rely on that to break up the surface so that there's enough oxygen in the aquarium. So oxygenation, making sure that I have it set up for proper oxygen. So let me get your comments. I mean, I've talked a lot here. I've talked about a lot of points. Let me hear what you have to say about that. Let me go ahead and show you. This is the tank. I'll enlarge it so you can see it. This is in the warehouse. It's a little dusty looking. It's in the back warehouse of glass cages. 7 feet across, 33 inches front to back, and about 24 inches or 25 from top to bottom. And you've got the Synergy overflow, the Synergy Shadow 2 overflow box. It's drilled for that in the middle. So you'll have that black box overflow right in the middle. And because it's black against a black background, it's going to be pretty disguised. And then you've got 2 return, 2 holes for returns, which you can cover those up with a bulkhead if you want, and still hook over a return if you don't want to have it like in with a bulkhead. But I think I'm going to go ahead and bulkhead the returns and position everything so that it does give me some surface breakup and some tank circulation. And depending on how strong the pumps are, those returns might be enough so that I don't need any power head or any wave maker with those 2 returns coming in at each end. So I'm not sure if this does justice. I should have stood next to the tank so you could see it. You'll see it in better perspective in tomorrow's video. You'll see the with Joe, one of the co-owners of Glass Cages, and myself standing next to the tank. You'll get a better perspective of how ginormous this tank really is. It's got Euro bracing, and it's low iron throughout. So it's low iron on the side panels, on the front, and I believe even the Euro bracing is low iron glass with a black vinyl back, sitting on a 7-foot wood stand. So it's just going to be just a lot of fun, getting it cleaned up and decorated and ready for fish. It'll come with glass lids, like the glass lids I have on the 210, very, very top-notch. And the Synergy overflow box for the back. You'll see more details tomorrow in tomorrow's video. So just look for this video tomorrow. Let me just get this over here. There we go. Yeah, look for that video tomorrow. That's me making a silly face in the warehouse. And that's going to post Sunday at 7 a.m. All right, let's take a look here. Let's take a look at what you folks are talking about. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and post them now, because I'm looking at the chat. I see you folks have gotten into some discussions. That's good. No, GP, it isn't easy. Fortunately, I have the garage, and it is my space, right? I claimed it. Well, we have some household storage down here as well. I mean, in all frankness, but I do have the the ability to do whatever I want down here. And I have a pretty large garage. It's very tall. It's almost 2 stories tall. And so I've got a lot of space for stack storage. So it gives me so it clears up the floor. So I have just a big footprint that I can use. So somebody's here from New Zealand. Sebos 359, you're in New Zealand? That's awesome. Very cool. So let's see here. And I see Denny. Hey, Denny. Denny's on board here. Denny in the house, one of my moderators. Good to see you, Denny. Hey, Frankie. Ben put 3 Kessels on that beast. Kessels are beautiful. They are definitely beautiful. 3 Kessels would cost about $2,500. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. Let's see here. John Larson says I would use at least 2 power heads, one facing up and one down. That will keep a good flow. Yeah. Right now I'm using the outputs of the FX6 as a sort of power head, along with a very powerful power head, and I'm using the output of the 2,500 gallon per hour Cichlids pump. Cichlids, do you see it? Cichlids. Jay Wilson taught me how to say it. He said, she sells seashells by the seashore, Cichlids. So it's an Italian name, but it's a very powerful pump. So I have a lot of water movement going on. And if you could see this tank from the bottom up, you would see there's a lot of movement on the top. Now, by the way, let me tell you something about this tank. And let me come off the chat here. And this tank, for the first time since I've had it set up, is actually 98 to 99% peaceful. So the experiment was kind of wild in putting aggressive fish. If you saw that video, right? My experiment on putting aggressive fish in an undecorated tank. It's a little bit of wild. It was kind of wild in that it really taught me that if a fish is deranged, the fish is deranged. I mean, if the fish is just a jerk and a killer, nothing's going to change that. And that's the lesson I learned. And it also taught me that when you remove a highly aggressive fish, a highly territorial fish, like the Phoenix, and to some degree the Eureka Red, and on a slightly more peaceful level, the living stoneye, those were the most territorial. Those were the fish that were chasing fish away from their area. The living stoneye would chase them away from the area and then leave them alone, whereas the Eureka Red, to some degree, and the Phoenix and the Dragon Blood, to a large degree, were continuing to pursue the fish all over the tank and hitting them and just giving them a rough time. So removing those fish from the tank has just taken the entire stress level of the tank and just taken it down like 80%. I'm serious, like 80%. I can sit in front of this tank and not have my blood pressure go up now. And the fish have more color. Fish are coming out and swimming around that were previously hiding, like this here, this Lethrinops oculatus. That's a beautiful fish. Wasn't coming around much. Bicolor 500, a very shy and timid peacock, swimming openly in this tank full of haps. So it's just changed the entire vibe, the entire feel of the tank. And as much as I think that the living stoneye would do fine putting them back in, I'm almost reluctant to change anything, because and it doesn't mean it's not going to change. I mean, cichlids. This tomorrow, one of them could have that flip, right? That switch flip, and loses their mind. But for right now, I mean, look at this. Look at this trout. That trout is crazy. So I've got a, let me give you a close up. You can see they're all swimming around. The colors are just really popping. And I think that has a lot to do with the stress having gone down. And everybody is out and about. I mean, there's nobody like hiding in the corner or just trying to stay off the radar. There's nobody that is very colored down because they just want to be invisible. There's a few fish that are just too young to have a lot of color, like that sand diver. The hawk is still starting to color up. But a lot of the other fish are looking really good. I mean, they've just really started popping. So so you can see what's going on over in the 55. I still have that dragon blood in jail. I'm going to be taking him probably over to, I'm probably going to take him over to the critters, over to the local fish store here. And just tell him, just go, look, he's a handful, but maybe you can put him in a tank with bigger cichlids and he'll behave, you know, if he's the smallest guy in the tank. You can see the living stone eye. He's sort of colored down a little bit. He's showing his pattern. Doesn't have his breeding dress on. So he's kind of calmed down a little bit. There goes the phoenix. I mean, they're all sort of calmed down. The Eureka red is up there near the top, kind of recovering from that initial beating. And you can see the dragon blood still wants to go after him. Whenever he swims by, the dragon blood hits the side of the plastic cage. So yeah, that dragon blood is just nuts. There's the South American tank. It's grow out tank. It's doing great. That chocolate cichlid, that little chocolate cichlid from Mexico with that black dot on his side, just absolutely gorgeous. The two red spotted Severums are doing great. I mean, they're all doing well in there, including the three little green tears from Brandon from the blind fish keeper. The geos, I got two redhead topos in there. They're all doing well. Let's see what kind of angle we can get if I switch all the way over to the 90. See, the fish in the 90 are doing well. You can make them out there. The vieja just keeps growing like a weed. That little Jack Dempsey named Tom is absolutely gorgeous. He's got some red on his dorsal. That's just beautiful. The geos, their tails are growing back in. They seem to have calmed down since I put the dither fish in. The Nicaraguans. The Nicaraguans are my apparently my dithers. And even the two Severums have calmed down. I mean, they're going after each other a little bit. The red shoulder is a lot smaller than the green Severum. The green Severum was creating trouble. I have two Heckeleyes in there. They're up in the upper right-hand corner. Not sure if you can see them. Waiting for them to show a little bit more color. They're already showing nice trailers on their fins. That's the 90-gallon. That work? using a smaller tripod today. So that's the update on the tanks. And the lesson I learned, of course, is that a nut job is a nut job when it comes to African cichlids. The dragon blood is going to be going off to a new home. And, but I'll definitely tell the folks that they got to make sure they give them to somebody who understands aggression, because that fish is aggressive. And, all right, let's see if you have any questions. Yeah, GP, you know, the Venusis in this tank is actually very, very mellow. The Livingstone, I was much more aggressive, and I've had Venusis that were jerks, but I've also had 2 or 3 of them that were just awesome fish that were very calm and were great. Joe wants to know what's the best substrate for South Americans, and certainly if you're going to have geophagus who love to sift and are running a lot of sand, you know, over their lips and through their gills, and you want to have a very fine, you know, a sand that's not like talc that's going to just float around all the time and never settle down and get sucked into your filters. But certainly, I mean, I have. I would say I have almost like a beach sand in there, and very, very small pebbles. I'm not sure of the exact size. And the geos don't really have any trouble like sifting through it. One of the reasons I go with things like Carib Sea is or Carib Sea, however you pronounce it. The reason I go with that brand is they tumble apparently their product, and so you don't end up with any real rough or sharp or jagged edges on the substrate that can irritate. Now the same thing is of course for African cichlids. They sift a lot, and they stick their entire heads. I mean, the sand diver buries his entire body in the sand if he gets startled. So you don't want to have anything there that's going to be in any way abrasive. Now, next consideration would be mineralization. And with cichlids, of course, you want a lot of calcium, magnesium, you want a hard water. You don't necessarily need that. So you don't need a aragonite with South Americans. You can just get just plain old sand, just plain old beach sand, you know, just get something, just plain old sand works fine. Now, having said that, a lot of people out there claim that, you know, blasting sand, play sand, these things are like, you know, $5 for 50 pounds as opposed to $20 for 20 pounds. They claim that works fine, and the fish don't seem to show any signs of abrasion. So just something to just keep in mind. Do some research, read up on it, and make up your final make up your mind on it. Paul comes in. Hey, Paul, thank you, my friend. Looking forward to see the new tank all set up. Have you received your parcel? No, I haven't, Paul. I have not. I've been looking for it. Every time we get a bag or a box, I think this might be the something from Paul, my surprise from Paul. Instead, it's just another Amazon order from my wife. All right. M&C Aquatics with my Dovai. I have pool filter sand, Oscar Severum Midas. I have the Carib Sea. All right. Yeah. I mean, Dovai's, I'm sure judging by the redecorating that I've seen in Dovai tanks, right? They're moving a lot of stuff around, getting a mouthful of it and spitting it out. And if you're not seeing any problems, I mean, sounds like that would be fine. Hey, Freddie in Chicago. Hope you're not too cold, my friend. I really love Michigan Avenue. Ricky De Hoyos is here. Love your viejas. Please don't take it the wrong way. For those of you who speak Spanish, you know what Ricky means, and we'll leave it at that. So, any questions, go ahead and ask them now. And thank you so much for that super chat. I'm scanning the chat right now is what I'm doing, looking for your questions. Sometimes if I miss your question, I'm sorry. It doesn't mean I did it on purpose. Peas and Haps Forever would love to get a monster tank, but I think the wife would put me 6 feet under. The 4 tanks now is pushing. You got to make a judgment call there, right? I'm fortunate that I would not be able to well, I had several big tanks back in California, but they're spread out all over the house. And I love having a consolidated area where I can do whatever I please. And kind of that sort of man cave concept of it's my space. And but she enjoys it. My wife enjoys it. She comes down, she looks at the fish. And the other day I have some neons. I have some little neons that I want to use in a planted tank. This project keeps getting put off because new stuff keeps happening. But I have little neons, and I was doing a cleaning. I was vacuuming, and what I thought was a little bit of detritus was a teeny, the size of a period at the end of a sentence, baby neon. So apparently they laid eggs and had some babies in there. So that was kind of cool. Love bringing my wife down to see stuff like that. Little teeny little baby fish. James Green, phosphates. My son's first multi-tank has play sand and does have a phosphate issue. First year was 3 to 5 ppm despite water changes. Year number 2 dropped 2 to 3. Yeah, that was why those bags of play sand are still sitting in the corner here, because someone gave me a heads up. They said, hey, look, you're going to have a phosphate issue, and this is going to promote brown algae, which is ugly. And so it's still sitting there. My son lives in an area that gets flooding sometimes. I told him, do you want the sand? Make some sandbags with it. They're very inexpensive. The sand, out of $5, again, $5 for 50 pounds. All right. I'm scanning the comments. We must rebel. We've got fish sitting in a UPS depot for the weekend due to their delays. Joy. I'll tell you, if that's in a warehouse that isn't heated and you're in a cold area, that's going to be a problem. You're probably going to have a problem. You probably have some DOAs. I hope not. I hope they're very hardy fish and you don't have dead on arrival. But hopefully you bought them from a vendor that will go ahead and replace them when you get DOAs, no questions asked. And they don't get into a discussion with you about, well, it's not my fault that UPS was slow, blah, 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 blah. So let's see here. Sebos 359. Are there any pairs in your main tank? They're all, it's supposed to be all male. Sometimes I look at the hawk and I wonder, are you really a male? But I think it is. When James over at the Cichlids Shack sends you males, they're males. I haven't gotten a female from him, but it's supposed to be all males. Now an OB, maybe an OB female can sneak in, but I don't think Skittles. I have an OB in here named Skittles. See, where is he? He's hiding back there in the corner. But I think an OB could probably sneak in as a female also. Come on, Skittles, get over here. Look at that tangerine tiger. Look at the beast. The Bucochromos donatania is the Energizer Bunny. He just goes back and forth, never ends. I don't even think he sleeps. That's Skittles right there. I can hypnotize him. Anyway, he's a line bred. They're certain kind of. They're trying to get a bluish purple color, and breeding him a certain way over at the Cichlid Shack, and so they came up with this line called Skittles. Unlike a lot of the hybrids, he is not a nut job, and I've heard. I mean, some OBs can be insane, but this one happens to be a little calm. It might also be because he's probably the smallest fish in the tank. I mean, he's very small. He's even smaller than the bicolor 500. So he's not insane, which is good. All right. So that being said, we're pretty much on the hour. You know, you start these streams, you wonder what you're going to talk about, and all of a sudden it's the end of the hour. And for those of you who came late, you can rewatch the stream, and you'll see pictures of the tank. If you catch tomorrow's video, shopping for the new tank, you'll see a walkthrough of glass cages and a better look and a better perspective and more details about the 300-gallon tank that I will be getting. And it's just going to be a monster. I'm very excited. I've just got to make sure I've got everything really prepared and ready for the delivery so that I can place it on top of whatever I'm going to be using to make sure it's level. Because once it's in place and decor and water, moving that is going to be next to impossible. Like I said, you're going to have 3,000 pounds. And so I've got to make sure wherever I put it, that's where it's going to be. So I've got to make sure the electrical sockets are right, water access is right, access to the back, everything has got to be, so before they bring it in through the garage door. So exciting times, my friends, and I appreciate you folks joining me on the journey. A big shout out to the Cichlid Shack for their help with this project, and a big shout out to the Patreons and to all you super chatters and everyone else who watches the videos. You all help to make this happen, and I'm very, very grateful. Thank you so much, my friends, and thank you to my wonderful moderators. You're the best on YouTube, and I think that's it for me. I'll see you this coming Saturday. Check out tomorrow morning's video. Bye-bye.